The impact of experiencing narcissistic abuse is multifaceted. There isn't even one aspect of a survivor that remains untouched and unaffected. From psychological to emotional to physical to spiritual aspects of a person, narcissistic abuse shadows every part of a person's being. It leaves a lasting impact on your overall functionality. Which is why in this episode, I'll be focusing on exploring the impact of narcissistic abuse trauma on a survivor's physical health. More specifically, we'll learn about 5 ways cortisol high caused by narcissistic abuse shows up in your body. If that sounds interesting and you haven't subscribed already, please make sure to subscribe before we begin, because your subscription always helps in spreading awareness about narcissistic abuse. Also, stay until the end because I will talk about how to reverse this cortisol imbalance, how to heal your health issues after narcissistic abuse. Let's begin with the basic understanding of what cortisol is. Cortisol is a stress hormone. It is released by our adrenal glands. Now, it is a hormone that is needed for the regulation of various processes happening in our body. For example, the metabolic processes, regulating our heart rate, the heart rhythm, the rhythm of the nervous system, and so on. So it should be present within a certain range, and once it is outside of that range, problem starts to happen. And when does it start getting out of the range? When our body is forced to overwork, when there is an overwhelming demand on us to survive, to cope with the adversity we are exposed to. And you know about narcissistic abuse. When you are in a narcissistic relationship, you have to stay hypervigilant all the time, which means your body has to overwork to produce a lot of cortisol, to create a lot of it to help you keep surviving. And that then exhausts your body. That exhausts your internal systems, rather creates an alteration, and that is what these points will cover. Let's start with number 1. Waking up consumed with worry. In the aftermath of narcissistic abuse, anxiety becomes a constant companion because of hypervigilance. This state of heightened worry is so pervasive that it intrudes upon your peace from the moment you open your eyes. You find yourself swamped with dread as you begin your day, a manifestation of your body's stress response working in overdrive. The body's cortisol levels, which usually peak in the morning to help you start your day, surge beyond normal due to the constant strain. This heightened cortisol level triggers a powerful anxiety response as soon as you wake up. Instead of rising with a clear mind, ready to face a new day, you are instantly immersed in a sea of worries. Lingering emotional and psychological echoes of the narcissistic abuse take over your thoughts, casting a shadow over the dawn of the new day. The distress seeps into your consciousness, replacing what should be a calm morning, awakening with a turbulent onset of apprehension. This state of waking worry is a direct manifestation of your body's heightened stress response, a physiological reaction to the ongoing psychological trauma caused by narcissistic abuse. Number 2, suppressed appetite. I cannot recall how many times people that I have helped in the past reported losing a lot of weight and not eating properly because they didn't feel hungry. Have you been there? Have you felt that as well? Let me know in the comments. This loss of appetite is a direct physiological response to the heightened cortisol production in our bodies. Cortisol, as I was describing in the beginning, plays a crucial role in the various bodily functions, including the regulation of metabolism and blood sugar levels. In a well-balanced system, cortisol aids in managing our hunger cues and contributes to a healthy appetite. However, persistent stress, such as that experienced under narcissistic abuse, disrupts this balance. The body reacts by producing excess cortisol, which in turn alters the normal metabolic processes. As a result, you find your hunger significantly diminished, especially during the early part of the day. This decreased appetite leads to subsequent weight loss. It is as if the body mirrors the emotional and psychological distress by withdrawing its demand for sustenance. Increased cortisol production over a prolonged period of time ultimately leads to adrenal fatigue, which is also called as chronic fatigue. We'll be talking more about that in point number 3. Point number 3, sudden energy slumps. Cortisol plays a significant role in regulating your body's energy levels. Under normal circumstances, cortisol levels rise and fall in a pattern known as the diurnal rhythm, peaking in the early morning and gradually decreasing throughout the day. However, when you are subjected to chronic stress caused by narcissistic abuse, this pattern is also disrupted. Your body responds to relentless stress by overproducing cortisol in an attempt to maintain a state of high alert, to fight, flight, or freeze. This constant overproduction consequently taxes the adrenal glands responsible for releasing cortisol into the bloodstream. Over time, the adrenal glands wear out, leading to adrenal fatigue. Adrenal fatigue causes chronically low levels of cortisol, disrupting the body's energy regulation and resulting in inconsistent energy levels throughout the day. Despite an overproduction of cortisol, adrenal fatigue leads to an inadequate cortisol response, leaving you feeling drained and totally fatigued. Number 4, hair loss. Elevated cortisol levels can lead to hair loss. When your body is perpetually stressed, it redirects resources away from non-essential functions like hair growth to focus on essential survival functions. This resource allocation, coupled with the disrupting influence of high cortisol levels on normal hair growth cycles, results in reversible hair loss. Elevated cortisol levels prematurely push hair into the telogen phase, where it is released and falls out. It is a physical manifestation of the internal turmoil caused by chronic stress, an outward sign of the body's struggle to cope with the constant flood of cortisol triggered by the psychological strain of narcissistic abuse. I have covered the topic of hair loss thoroughly and in depth in another episode. You can watch it now by clicking the I button above. Number 5 and the last one, dampened mood and decreased motivation. Constantly increased cortisol levels erode your mood and motivation over time. As a hormone playing a central role in mood, motivation, and fear response, consistently high cortisol causes changes in brain function and structure, creating a domino effect that hardwires neural pathways, making the brain predisposed to a constant state of fight or flight. This leads to a brain that becomes predisposed to be in a constant state of hyperarousal, a vicious cycle that contributes to anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder. You will be shocked to know that chronic stress also flips a switch in stem cells that inhibits connections to the prefrontal cortex. When that happens, it impacts your learning and memory. This is why it is difficult for you to learn or feel motivated. You are not lazy or dumb. You are hurt and traumatized. This distinction is crucial to understand because the first thing that you need to heal is compassion, not self-criticism. No, it is compassion. Now, I know your question would be, how do I heal this? How do I reverse all of that damage? I wish I could tell you, go do this thing or that thing and you will be fixed. Unfortunately, I do not have that kind of an answer for you because the problem at hand is very complex. As I said in the beginning, surviving narcissistic abuse causes trauma to every system that runs you. Therefore, the healing process has to be holistic, meaning you will have to work on changing your environment first. That is where you begin if you want to heal it. Think about this for a moment. If you put a plant under shade without any sunlight, no matter how much you water it, it won't grow. Similarly, if your environment is still very toxic, you're still living with the narcissist, your body won't let you shut down the survival system. You have to cut the narcissist in your life off to give your adrenals a rest and then work on stabilizing your nervous system through learning self-regulating exercises, proper nutrition, support, and so on. I know there's a lot more to talk about when it comes to healing, which is why I am launching a membership somewhere around the first week of July. In this membership, I'll help you go from feeling broken, hopeless, and confused to healed, empowered, and thriving. More details soon. So that was it for today's episode. I hope you found it insightful. If you did, let me know in the comments. Drop a like and share this with others. I'll talk with you in the next one. Until then, as always, let the healing begin and continue.